Hi, this is Doug Pugh. I am here on day 3 of the Dr. Darwin Wolford 5-day tribute. Since his passing last week, I decided to put together this little tribute because he wrote some fantastic music, and I want to pay tribute to him and also want to teach some really cool tricks to my students. So today we are going to look at Brother Wolford's work in the Primary Children's Songbook. Many people who knew Darwin knew that he was the editor, the music editor of the 1985 LDS Hymnal, but he was also the editor and sort of house arranger for the Primary Children's Songbook. Just about, the vast majority of the Primary Children's Songbooks, piano parts were touched up or rearranged by Brother Wolford, and several of them were he had a bigger hand in actually arranging or adding descants and so on and so forth. But almost all, at least the vast majority of the piano parts had something to do with him, which is really cool because he managed to make them easy to play and still be full of color. He was quite good at that. So I want to look quickly at 4 primary songs that he had a hand in. The first being I Am a Child of God. He wrote the descant, which is a really fine descant. It's very memorable. It has kind of its own melody, yet it works in cahoots with the main tune. You probably know it well. I just wanted to highlight a few really cool things about it. So we get the main tune. So they get their first note from the word of. There, and then the kids, I am a child of. So I've marked things in green that are happening at different rhythms than the melody. That's one of the key features of a descant, is that it's using up some of the open windows rhythmically, so to speak, in the main melody. So this opening bit is happening while the kids are holding their long notes. Then we're sort of in tow with them, but we hit this D, which is part of the 7 half diminished chord, but then he suspends it over. So we get that 9/8, beautiful little 9/8 suspension. And then we stick on the G, which is an important note in the A7 chord that comes next. Learn to do. So this big leap up to the E sort of outdoes the previous high D, and carries over the bar similarly with that same kind of 9/8 suspension feel. Learn to 9/8 suspension. Then we go in contrary motion with the melody, and then we go in thirds with the melody. So the descant is moving around, within, and occasionally in close synchronization with the tune. Then we have a very clear, different rhythm at the beginning of the chorus. Holy God, and then we're in rhythm. Walk beside, 6th apart, and then back to that other rhythm. Help me to find the way. So that same tie over on find, the 9/8 suspension, which gives us a cohesiveness between the verse and the chorus, because we have that same suspension there. And then the last phrase, teach me, which is just like the opening bar. I am a child of, so it's familiar to the kids. Teach me what I must do to live. And then we go right in sync with the 5 chord. Live with him down in thirds someday. Really good descant. There's nothing like wildly, astronomically amazing about it, but that's actually, it's genius. It's much harder to write something simple that is good than it is to write something complicated and wild. And he had a knack of doing that, especially with his descants. So that's the first I wanted to look at really quick. Second, I wanted to look really quickly at the wonderful primary song, Beautiful Savior, which he arranged, the whole thing. There's a lot of cool stuff happening here, but this is one of his sort of quintessential introductions that end on a open door. Like there's not like this finished cadence. It sort of is, but it starts the verse on a first inversion chord instead of a root position chord. So our ear is still looking for like, well, where's the real foundation? It doesn't happen until the word fairer in the third measure of the singing, which is always kind of fun. So we start up high and keep coming down. A little chromaticism. Nice, lots of inversions, and then we get this 5-chord inverted 4-2, because that's the third inversion, with the 7th in the bass, which must go down 2, 1-6. So yes, it's a 1 chord, but it's not that root. So it kind of leaves this expectation, like there's got to be more. Where's the fundamental? Where's the root? So our ear gets pushed forward. And I just love that because it just keeps our ear engaged, keeps the attention moving forward. A little bit of expectation playing. That's the first thing I just wanted to quickly mention. I could spend plenty of time on this one, but wanted to go through this relatively quickly. Also has a wonderful descant. This descant is particularly high. It could be for a solo voice, probably better for an instrument. But it's a great little tune to have maybe a primary child who plays the violin join the group, or the flute. And then the very end I wanted to highlight is it's a cool little harmony thing. I'm always looking for endings that are not obvious. Like, the normal 5-1 or 4, the amen cadence. I love finding some other chord before 1, just to change it up and make it more interesting. And he does that. So we get the give praise and glory evermore, 1 chord. And now look at the bass keeps the D, but we get this G, E minor, A7 with still the D in the bass, and then the 1 chord. So much more interesting than normal 5-1. Instead we get the D in the bass, 5-7 kind of smushed above it. These little collisions, the E and the D sharp, the C sharp, they collide against the D and then resolve. And now this last chord is such a good example of how to write sonorous, resonant piano chords that really make a piano sound non-plunky and round and gorgeous, which is tricky. It's a percussion instrument. But notice how they have those double rolls. The right hand has the open 5th, the D and the A with another A. Then we have the open 5th in the left hand, D, A, and then we get the only 3rd tucked right in the middle. So the little tenor voice, evermore, and the soprano voice, really wonderful piano chord writing there. And you notice he's careful to not do that very often. It's an important thing with simplified piano to save those kind of big rolled chords just and use them sparingly. But this is a good spot for one at the end of the piece. A beautiful way to write a chord. And notice there's only 1/3. There's 2 Ds, the root, there's 3 As, and there's 1 F sharp, because you really only need 1. We don't need to double the 3rd on a tonic chord. Plus, if this were an a cappella choir or a string quartet or something, that's the best way to tune the chord, a major chord, is to just slip in 1/3. It's all you need. And let the roots and the fifths kind of take the outer pillars of the sound and put in the 3rd right in the middle to just finish it off. It's a beautiful way to write a chord. Okay, third and second to last is Mary's Lullaby, which was arranged by Dr. Wolford. Also has a descant here. He did lots of those in the Primary Children's Songbook. What I love about this, first of all, is this sort of rhythmic canon a little bit. It's like canonic rhythms where they echo each other. We get the eighth quarter, while the left hand follows eighth quarter, eighth quarter, eighth quarter. That just makes it so much more interesting. So, especially when you're writing for simplified piano, it's nice to create a way to make the piano interesting. And all he's done is offset the rhythm by one beat in this little echo rhythm. But it fills up the space so nicely, even though it's quite easy. The other thing is, look at the hand position of that first measure left hand. We get the normal octave, fifth root, fifth root, and then root, fifth, third. Because there's no, there's a space for a third on beat 4, but that's a really nice little piano template. You know, very often in LDS music we get the okay, enough already. How can you do another piano bit, piano template, piano pattern that still gives the harmony, still has motion, but is more interesting? This is a great one. Root, fifth, root, lower fifth, third. It's a really nice template to use in the piano writing. So give that a try sometime. Let's see, that might be everything I wanted to say here. Yes, it is. And just one last thing. Notice how throughout the piano part finds little holes to fill. So see, the singers are holding and the piano fills it up. And the singers are holding, the piano fills it up. Same here. There's little moments where something's being held and the piano adds rhythmic interest by filling the gap. Here's another one with 2 fillers, another one with a filler, and so on. It's an excellent way to add a little interest to your simplified piano parts. Lastly, let's look at the Christmas favorite, Stars Were Gleaming, the Polish carol, and this one is fully arranged by Dr. Wolford as well. And so the same kind of rhythm trick that he used in Mary's Lullaby, he does again here, this little echo. Where the rhythm, eighth quarter, and then eighth quarter. So if throughout that whole first phrase, we get those little rhythm echoes, which is, again, just so delightful. But perhaps the most fun part is the little sequence we get here. So on. Sorry, wrong note. But what's great about that, I mean, he did not invent that sequence. It was already in the original Polish carol. But what he's done with it is created all the colors that these suspensions and appoggiaturas and other non-chord tones create, but it's still very easy to play. It's a 3-voice texture with the right hand taking 2 voices. There's that little suspension. And then again. While the left hand plays the 3rd voice. So as the melody's coming down, we go up. See that little appoggiatura, the leap up. And then again. Done. And then it's sort of again a 4th time, but a little bit different. Not the same interval of a 7th. The rhythm is interesting because it fills in that little gap between quarter notes there with that 8th note each time. And also that upward leap of a 7th, which kind of is parodied combined with the second. See, on singing we create a second E, and D that releases to a third, while the left hand is doing the reverse. It's creating a seventh, which is an upside down second, and then a sixth, which is an upside down third. So the second with the dissonance becoming a third that releases the dissonance, at the same time with a seventh going in contrary motion upward, and then releasing to a sixth simultaneously in very simple piano writing. So it's like a little masterclass in simplified piano writing. In fact, most of the Primary Children's Songbook is a masterclass in simplified piano writing, which is very useful in the church because we just never know what you're going to get when you call a primary pianist or a ward choir pianist and so on. So to have the ability to write simplified piano but make it nice and interesting and still full of all the color of the harmony is so crucial. So it's like knowing what to leave out and what to keep, which is actually one of the very first lessons he taught me. And he told the story of Aaron Copland and Nadia Boulanger. Nadia Boulanger was the most famous teacher of composition in the early 20th century, those first 50, 60 years. She was friends with Stravinsky and Ravel, and Aaron Copland, who was born in 1900, went to study with her in 1920, 21, 22, that time period. He was there for 2 years. And there's this famous moment when he finished this big piece, his concerto for orchestra, for organ and orchestra, and worked so hard. She was a real taskmaster, but pushed Copland really hard to finish this because she really believed in his sound. And when he finished, she said, "Okay, now go and remove all the superfluous notes." Such an incredible composition lesson. And that's what I'm trying to get at here with the way Darwin's written this, is all the juicy bits are there, but there are no superfluous notes. Everything is just so. It's just right. Just enough, not too much, which is harder than it may seem. So don't discount something because it looks simple. It can be very intricate, and to have all the color but make it simplified, it's a difficult task. So that's our third day of tributes to Darwin, and we have a couple more days. I'm excited for these last two because they're two favorites of mine, which we'll look at tomorrow and Friday. And if you like stuff like this, digging into music and how do these things work, and maybe could I add some of these things to any pieces that I'm trying to write, come and join us over at the Latter-day Musiversity. It's a place that I've started where I teach these skills to LDS church members and help them write primary songs and hymn arrangements and ward choir pieces and so on. We have tons of fun. You can come check us out at latterdaymusiversity.com. All right, see you tomorrow.